Hello, sewing people of the internet. I almost didn't make a video of this because you've kind of already seen it before, but I might be able to put some details that weren't in the previous video about this topic. And this is actually quite a bit different, but I am making a roll top backpack dry-ish bag to carry when I'm paddling. I made one 2 years ago out of Tyvek, and it's actually still structurally sound, but it looks terrible. The fabric is pilling really badly, and it's just kind of embarrassing to carry at this point. So I'm going to make a new one out of some more substantial fabric instead of Tyvek. For this project, I am using 400D nylon pack cloth. This is what I normally use as a liner in most of the bags that I make, but it's pretty substantial fabric, and I think it'll be good for the exterior for this project. Also, I kind of thought a bright color like orange might be handy to have on the water. For the interior lining, I'm going to use some white billboard vinyl. Friend of the channel, Ryan, sent this to me some time ago, along with some other billboard scraps. I think the company that he works for had pieces that weren't going to be used and were just going to be thrown away that were pretty big that he was able to send me, so I'm going to use that for the liner. What I'm about to say is a little bit speculation on my part and a little bit from actual experience, but I want to be clear that what I'm making is not, by my definition, not a dry bag and not waterproof. I see a lot of stuff labeled waterproof. I kind of suspect that waterproof is a term kind of like organic. It doesn't really mean what you think it means, but when I say something is waterproof, I interpret that to mean that no water is going to get in for an extended period of time. I could submerge it underwater and the items inside it will stay dry for a while at least. There are international standards for waterproofness, and things like phones have a certain rating, and that's how long they can stay underwater before they're ruined or whatever. That's beyond what I intend to get into with this. But my point being, if you see what I'm doing here and decide to do it for yourself, just understand, my intention is for this to be splash proof or water resistant. I should be able to carry it on my paddleboard, put it on the paddleboard, maybe a boat wake splash over it, and nothing inside it get too wet. But I'm still going to put the stuff inside it that's valuable or could be damaged in another dry bag. So just don't misinterpret this as how to make a dry bag, because that's not what this is. Dry bags tend to be either RF welded or thermally welded or glued. Sometimes they're stitched also, but when you stitch something, you're putting holes in it. And you can do seam sealer and stuff, and I may add some seam sealer to this, but it's not intended to be fully submersible, waterproof for an extended period of time. So if you need that, don't do what I'm doing. Since I kind of wasn't planning on making a video about this bag, I've already gotten a lot of work done off camera. If you've watched videos of mine in the past on backpack construction, you've seen a lot of this before. If not, I'll put a link to my 4 or 5 part tutorial. This bag is based on that design. But in case you want to make something like this, I'll give you the dimensions of the pieces of the pack. Quite simple, it's all rectangles. These are the side panels. They're 30 inches high and 8.5 inches wide. The bottom panel is 13 inches by 8.5 inches. And the front and the back panels are 30 inches high by 13 inches wide. The liner pieces are all the exact same dimensions as these pieces are. On the front panel, I've just got a simple mesh pocket, very similar to what I did on the Tyvek bag. What I usually do is stick my phone in a waterproof case in this, and it's attached to me, or attached to the pack by a lanyard. So this pocket, I just wanted just a simple loose pocket that I could drop that into. I don't really keep any other things in here usually. On the back panel, I've already attached the shoulder straps. These shoulder straps are just simply reclaimed marine tie-down strap that I bought at a marine thrift store in the Keys. I'm just using that strap material both as the straps and as the strap attachment. There's a reclaimed piece of red webbing that I got from a previous employer that is going to be the grab handle. And then I've got mil-spec 17337 webbing that will go down to the strap attachments on the bottom. And there's also 17337 webbing with some tri-glides on it that I'm going to use as the strap adjusters. I'm not going to show it in any great detail, but I'm going to add a similar mesh pocket to each side panel, about the size to hold something like an Nalgene bottle or a travel coffee mug. I'm just going to show you how I make the mouth for this pocket. This mesh is a pretty heavy-duty mesh. Thank you, Evan, for sending this to me. And I just wanted to make kind of a bound top for it, just out of the same fabric as I'm using for the body of the bag. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just taking a 6-inch piece that's as wide as the pocket is going to be. I'm going to fold it so that the edges meet in the middle, making it 3 inches wide. And then I'm going to fold that over the mouth of the bag and sew it down. Just applying some seam stick basting tape to the edges, and that'll hold it down when I fold it. Okay, so the exterior pieces of the backpack are ready to go together. I'm just sewing everything together with a 1/2-inch seam allowance. I'm going to sew the front to the sides, and then sew the sides to the back, and then sew all of that to the bottom. Okay, couple quick things. One, I probably put text to this effect in the video, but I had to take this apart for reasons that aren't really worth going into, just a mistake I made, pretty common thing. I found it better to sew all the panels, all the side and front and back panels to the bottom first, and then sew down the main seams. I probably knew that and forgot. It's been a while since I've made one. So you might want to consider that if you're putting one of these together. Now, the way I'm constructing this bag is I'm going to have a floating liner, same as in the tutorial backpack from the tutorial series. And what that means is that the liner isn't really going to contribute to the structure of the bag. I'm only going to sew it to the bottom seams. So to add a little bit more strength and security to this, I'm going to sew in the seam allowance. So in between the stitches that I've already done and the edge of the fabric, I'm just going to sew another row of stitches just to add some security to the stitch. It's been mentioned to me that you can sew and then every now and then back tack a few stitches and then sew some more and back tack some more. That would help keep the stitches, if you know you got to cut in the stitches, from working out as easily. You'd still have a hole, it'd just be a smaller hole to fix. I'm probably not going to do that in this case, but that's also a good idea if you're wanting to keep this as secure as possible. So I've got the main body of the backpack sewn together and inside out, and I've got the liner, I don't know whether to call this inside out or right side out, but the part that's going to be showing inside the bag is on the inside of this, but that's the orientation it's going to stay in. So now I'm just going to sew, I'm just going to do two seams, two of these bottom seams onto the bottom of the main body of the backpack, and then turn it out. So the next thing I need to do is fold each of these pieces in on each other so that the raw edges are trapped by the other piece, and then sew that together. And I also need to sew some webbing on with the side release buckle that'll be the closure for this. So years ago I made a video about the difference between double adjustable and single adjustable side release buckles. But this is a good time to talk about it because it's kind of screwed me up a little bit. So I wanted to make this bag, which is another roll top, and I'm kind of sick of making roll tops, but that's exactly what is best for this situation. But I wanted to make it so that it could clip to the sides, like my Tyvek bag does, or be able to clip to itself on the top. And the only way to do that is you have to have a male or female buckle, and then so let's say male, female, male, female. You can swap this around. They have to be so that you have a male and a female on the top. And in order to do that, they have to be double adjustable, because on many side release buckles, the male is adjustable and the female is not. So if I put the female side on the side, I can't cinch it down once I clip it in, which is part of how this works. So my choices are, I can put this aside, order some double adjustable side release buckles, because I don't have any. Oh, I don't think I mentioned it. I salvaged some double adjustable buckles, but one of the female sides is broken, so they're useless to me. So I could order some new ones and put this aside, but that's not my style. I'm just going to make it with the single adjustable. It won't be able to close at the top. I don't know if I was ever really going to do that. I think it's a smart idea with a bag that closes this way to have the option. And if it ever really truly bothers me, I can just unthread the side buckles and sew in new ones on the top in like 10 minutes, so not a big deal. Side release buckles all look pretty much the same, but if you didn't buy them from the same manufacturer and the same exact style, often they don't work together at all. So that doesn't work. So, backpack is done. I did change a couple of things off camera. I went home yesterday and found that I had a couple of double adjust side release buckles. So I replaced the buckles that were on here with those. The important thing about that is that I have a female on one side and a male on the other side of the top closure. So the corresponding buckles are on the side, or I can close them together. So I have options. I haven't experimented with this enough to say for sure, but I kind of get the impression that when the bag is more lightly loaded, closing it at the top will stay closed better than closing it on the sides. The vinyl makes it a little bit thicker to roll, and it seems like it might be a little bit easier to unroll. So I'll see how that works. But overall, I'm happy with how it turned out, and time will tell if it will hold up better than the Tyvek bag did. If you're interested in making stuff out of Tyvek, I'll link to a couple of videos where I've done that. That Tyvek backpack lasted way longer than I expected it to, and it was exposed to the elements a lot, so not a bad way to go, but I expect this to be much more long-lived. If you have questions or comments, post them in the comments section below. If you like this video, clicking like really helps. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.